Hello and welcome. I am Deborah at NTSS Learning, and I'm here today to interview someone very special. This is Katrina, and she's here to talk to me today particularly about learning and learning for her and particularly for her students. So Katrina, do you want to start? Can we start off by you telling us a little bit about yourself and...
Yeah, sure. So I'm Katrina, and I teach Kundalini Yoga at the Yoga Tree, and my specialty is helping people overcome high levels of stress in their life. And this comes from the place of being neurodivergent myself. So I am not diagnosed with autism, but because I studied a master's degree with autism, I understand my childhood and growing up, and I saw aspects of autism in my life. But because it is hereditary, my brother is autistic, so it was that watching him grow and his journey that inspired me to take that journey myself to study autism. So so I come from a place of how I teach my yoga is keeping autism in mind, is to make space for people who are neurodivergent, so that it's not overwhelming for them.
So you're a specialist
Yes,
in people particularly, and also you've got your dyslexic
I'm
as well, I
dyslexic.
think, aren't you? You've definitely been...
that one I've been diagnosed,
so you have to deal with both of them, which is often the case, isn't it, with people? That there's perhaps more than one thing going on. How has being neurodivergent actually affected you in your life? Let's talk about that first, you personally.
So I wasn't aware about it when I was a kid because I didn't know anything about it. But
people didn't really
know, and I grew up in Malaysia, so it was a very different way of being, and we were told you have to behave, you have to do things that elders tell you to do. And so I had a lot of trauma growing up because I wasn't aware that I was neurodivergent. I didn't know all, and I was always the last in class as well at school. Really terrible, because nobody taught me skills that I needed for dyslexia. And for me, the hardest thing was when the teacher would write on the board, and then she'd say that, "Have you all copied it?" And I'd be like, "I haven't really been able to get to where you're at," and then wipe it off again. And then it made me feel really lazy, because I was like, I can't keep up with that, So I carried all of this with me, and it was only later on in life where I decided to revisit education as a mature student. I went through a diagnosis for dyslexia, because it was brought to my attention. You could be dyslexic. Okay, I'll pursue that. I'll have a look at it. And then it turns out that I really am.
Right.
So that was a massive change in my mindset, and it made me very empathetic towards the younger me, and also other kids and other people who struggle with reading and writing. And it's not so much the reading and writing, but more concepts. For me personally, it was more about especially in maths, the concept of learning certain formulas in certain ways. That was they only taught us one way, and there are other ways.
Yes.
So that's really important, to find that one that works for that person.
Although, you're very successful in what you do, so obviously you have managed to overcome.
Oh yes.
And people, these sort of people that are dyslexic or have autism or ADHD or anything like that, you can overcome them. You can learn to manage.
Absolutely.
Just like people have to manage with lots of things in life. You just got to learn strategies and how to deal with it, really.
And to begin with, the strategies weren't easy to learn, because it's habit forming and changing, and it meant a lot of discipline. And as someone that didn't have much discipline growing up, that was challenging. But I made it a point, because it's like, no, I wanted to be a primary school teacher. This really inspired me to become a teacher, because I wanted to be that teacher that I wanted to have as a kid, and I wanted to be empathetic, which I am, and nurturing and caring and all that.
And be able to teach in different ways, to suit different people, different people's
learning
needs.
Styles, and also to teach to their talents, to find out how they learn, and it is a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
You know, because one child with dyslexia is going to learn in a total different way from another.
Yes. But you can read, for example.
Yeah.
You have a website, don't you?
Yes.
So, you know.
Reading is still challenging, and even today, because my partner's a musician, and we write. He writes music, and I'm often trying to look at the stave and trying to make sense of it. But the lines are so close together; they start to go wonky for me.
Yes.
So I think I've probably got a bit of Mears-Erlen as well,
Right.
or Mears-Erlen syndrome, where the writing starts to play around.
Right.
So it's also connected to dyslexia, but it's also connected to visual, how your stress response, how you're feeling. If you're quite stressed, then maybe the words are going to jumble up a bit more than they usually would, you know.
And your yoga is very good.
Thank
Of
you.
course, you teach a lot of yoga, which is very good, as you say. Stress, you get stressed.
Oh yeah.
That's not helping.
No.
So whereas yoga is particularly good for dealing with stress.
Totally, and that's what I love it for, you know, because I'm a highly stressed individual, and if I don't do my yoga every day, I'm just fight or flight mode, really, you know, and I have to do that before I leave the house, before I do anything, just for my own nervous system. Yeah. And it's really, really important, and I find that that's why I like to teach people who have a lot of stress, because I know what it's like. Yes. I know it so well.
You've been there.
I've been there. I've got the T-shirt, you know. So yeah.
Lovely. Okay. So how would you say, if you when you're teaching, whatever you're teaching, how can you support your neurodivergent learners, and how can they support themselves?
So I found this was quite tricky as a primary school teacher, because when I was teaching at school, it was challenging because there's so many people, and you've got to manage the whole class, you know. But as I was getting into college, teaching at City College, it was a lot easier because there were fewer kids in the class, and also there's a lot more support. You know, you've got a lot more support, and so it meant that I could take my time and spend time getting to know each kid, each student, and that was really, really helpful. And finding out what they love, finding out what they hate, what drives them mad, and just really getting to know the student. And for me, I love teaching one-to-one. That's my favorite, because I really get to spend time with my students. And some students that we have here, I'm teaching one-to-one in yoga as well. And I get to know them as people and find out what their challenges are on a very, very deep level, and then I can meet them there. And I think that's where the magic happens, is when I can see, right, this is what you're struggling with. Right, we'll not go there, we'll go somewhere totally different, you know. And it's about finding out where they're at, and just no judgment whatsoever. And that's quite difficult, because we all have preconceived ideas, don't we? I mean, we're only human. But it's about just accepting them. And once you accept them, and then always realizing that I came from that background too, slightly different, but having the same values, knowing that I just want to learn and do better. It's the same thing that they want. And just trying to meet them where they're at.
You teach adults as well, though, don't you?
Teach
adults.
Yes.
No. Because obviously nowadays there's a lot of adults that are becoming more and more aware.
And they're getting diagnosed.
Yes, that's not common now, isn't it?
So actually, it's easier to teach adults in that sense.
Yeah.
Because kids are still trying to figure out who they are, aren't they? They're still trying, you know, what they fancy. 1 week is something totally different the next week, isn't it? They're still trying to, you know, navigate their way through life. Yeah.
But what about how they can support themselves, though? Because at the end of the day, they're not going to have their teacher going around their whole life with them, telling them what's the best way to do things. They've got to learn to be able to do it themselves. Really,
that's really important. So it's about giving them strategies when I'm teaching in class. So, like, for instance, in the yoga, there are breathing techniques, things like that. So I will talk them through each one, and then I will write it down for them and give it to them, or email it to them, and then they can go home and practice it. So on a basic level, that's the kind of thing that I can do for each individual. I just find out what they need, and they can contact me, and then I can give them those pieces or those tools to help them navigate through their lives. And oftentimes they do email me back and say, oh, this isn't working for me. Is there something that might work for me? Then I'll reassess the situation. But a lot of it, when it comes to yoga, those are the kind of strategies you can think about. But when it comes to like learning, education, at school or in college or further education at home even, it's about routine, consistency, and discipline for themselves. So they have to want to, and that's a big part of it, because it's all very well and good, like, you know, having a plan, but in your heart, if you don't feel like you want to, that has to happen first.
You have to be committed.
You have to be committed. You have to like, right, this is the journey that I'm on. And I think that's where the teacher comes in to begin with, planning out that journey with them. And then they have to then know, right, 5 o'clock in the evening, I've got to do my practice. And starting off with just like 5-10 minutes, nothing too overwhelming, just something that they think, I've accomplished that today. And if it's just 1 minute even, if they find like, 5 minutes is too much, reduce it. Just something that they can cope with. And so maybe one day they miss it and they feel like, I'm just going to pack it in. You know, that's when they need to come back to the teacher or the support person and say like, okay, I messed up yesterday, but it's okay. Tomorrow's a new day, you know, let's start again. So I think for people who are neurodivergent, a lot of it's mindset, and they're worried that they're failing because that's what they're used to when they're in school as children. They're used to being told that, no, this isn't good enough, you need to pull your socks up, you need to do better, all this sort of thing. So that trauma lives with them as they carry on in life.
Yes. And they're afraid to make mistakes then.
Afraid to make mistakes.
And as we know, making mistakes is such an important part of learning.
Exactly. Be happy that you've learned the mistake, that you've made the mistake, because from that you can learn, right?
Yes.
So,
what about English and maths? Have you got any tips?
So English and maths, not something I do now, but I have done in the past. And I think for English and maths, again, you can still relate it back to whatever it is that you're teaching, you know. It's about finding the method, like say for maths. You know, some people understand chunking, some people understand doing sums, like looking at the tens and hundreds and that sort of thing. It all depends on how that person learns, what is most accessible to them. I had a really good maths teacher who broke down everything for me and said that, okay, that technique's obviously not working for you. We'll put that aside. You don't ever have to learn that. So it's them knowing that they can stick to one that they're really good at, that they can figure out and practice that, you know. And it's about, again, I think it's not to say memorizing. Maybe some kids are good at memorizing, but it's got to make sense. You know, it's the penny has got to drop, right?
Yes,
you know, they've got to make sense of it. So it's the way that they learn maths. Again, it can be repetition because that helps.
I think repetition is important, isn't it, in learning? I know it's not terribly fashionable to say that nowadays, but you do need to go over things to get them really ingrained. Whatever type of learning you are.
Exactly. Like even in yoga, we memorize mantras. You know? That's how we.
That's part of it's because you're remembering the tune, aren't you? So that is that's helping you remember whatever the mantra is, the words of the mantra.
Right.
So yes, that makes sense.
And the same thing also goes for English. I mean, it depends on what is challenging for the person studying. You know, because I haven't really taught English as an adult. So mine has only been at primary level, but it all depends on how that kid or person learns, and I guess if you're trying to get them into the subject, interested in it, it's about finding what they're interested in, what their hobbies are, and going in from that level. And then if someone who's dyslexic who struggles with reading, maybe it's about sharing stories, audio stories perhaps, and communicating through not reading necessarily, but making things up perhaps, or
listening to the recording, but looking at the words at the same time. So
that
you're
I found very helpful. But also what helped me was because font is written very close together. So when I used to teach some of my students, I used to highlight every other line so that they could see the gap between, because the problem is that the font starts to make patterns as well, and then that confuses the brain, and then it makes them think that, oh no, I can't see what I'm reading, you know. And I've experienced that myself, being dyslexic. So it's about maybe using a ruler as well, and going one line at a time. And it does take time. But in the end, my training and the support that I got for dyslexia was amazing. And it is about getting people to support the learner as well. You know, I think that's really, really important. And then from there, strategies can be put in place.
I think you pretty much answered everything I wanted to ask you about. What about study skills?
Study skills, yeah. Well, I suppose that goes into the learning as well, right? So the study skills is about, I was given a template, and I would have all the subjects, or when I was doing my master's particularly, I had a note at the end of my table, because I get very distracted. And I used to say, right, 3 main things I need to achieve by the end of this hour that I'm sitting down and doing my work, you know, and I write down what they are. And as I go through one, I obviously cross them off. And for me, that's what I needed to focus on, or even if it's one key thing that needs to be addressed. But it's about us. I find lists are very helpful, making lists, and then even within the list, making a list within that. You know, and also I find, although Excel does something crazy to my brain, I can't read it very well because it's very close together. But I find it's really good for getting ideas down. So like what they call brain dumping. Have you heard of that, brain dumping?
Yes.
Yeah, where you've got all these ideas.
Yes, you just
put the columns. And
yes.
then the lines, and you can say, right, okay, so this chapter, you know, all of that down.
The planning,
so,
and using mind mapping, that type of thing.
Oh, absolutely.
To think about it before you just start writing straight away.
Never go straight into it.
And have you tried, when you're reading, have you tried, sometimes some people use something, it covers up part of it, apart from, there's like a hole, and you move that along so you can just focus on that one bit.
Have you tried that before? I have done that
before.
I didn't find it helpful personally, but I know some other dyslexics do. So, you know, again, it's
finding what works
for you. But then I also found that I've got Merseyran as well, I think, because I wasn't diagnosed with it, but I did some training, because I did a bit of SPLUD training, specific learning difficulty training at college, and they came in with all these onlays, you know, and I found the lime green colour over white background and black text was very, very helpful for me.
Yes, so sometimes using an overlay with a colour can help.
But also I've noticed that when I'm highly stressed, words start to jumble up a bit. When my nervous system is calmed down, if I've done some breath work and I come back and do my work, they don't jumble up, and I can see things clearly.
So, you know, you don't have to start doing yoga
not necessarily,
to learn how to relax. You can just do, there's a lot of breathing exercises in yoga, and when we do classes like that, there's a lot of breathing, isn't there? So
I mean, there's
that's all very good.
Very simple breathing where you just inhale for 4 counts and then hold your breath for 4 counts and exhale for 4 counts. Just simply doing that. Say before you're about to do some work, do it twice. That would just calm the nervous system, so then you can you know, start your
and also like stepping away.
Yes.
And stop saying, right, okay, I just need to calm down a minute before I actually start.
And I find techniques like setting the alarm, because I can get too involved, and then that causes shoulder pain and lower back issues. So I set myself for like half an hour, 45 minutes at a go, and if that doesn't work, then I walk away, make a cup of tea, and come back again.
It's always good to have a break.
Absolutely. Walking the dog or something. You know? I don't have dogs, but
just 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes.
just walk away for a little while.
Fresh air or something.
Stand outside for a bit.
Well, thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to tell us about your? Tell us a bit about your actual business.
My business.
That if people do want to, because I know you do teach yoga, if people want to do particularly your specialist classes
Yes.
for autism.
Yes. So, well, I do a lot of one-to-one. I can do one-to-one for autism, all forms of neurodivergence, and I also teach classes. So I teach a class at Yoga Tree twice a week. Thursday night is fully booked, so it's really hard to get on that one. But I do teach on live stream, so there's the possibility for doing live stream both classes. And then there's the Saturday 12:30 to 1:30 at the Yoga Tree. So that. But
those are classes for people who live where we are.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyone that wants to do it,
it's live stream as well.
Yes, so you can do it online.
Yeah,
you can do it online.
Exactly. And the way that I teach is always putting your nervous system first. It's always about calming the breath, the mind, and what yoga is about is marrying your body, your energy, your soul, and your breath all together. So that's how I teach yoga. It's not your normal yoga that you like hatha vinyasa. I'm not saying that that's normal, but everything is special.
Different types
of yoga.
Yeah.
And I'd say Kundalini yoga is really good for the nervous system. It's the one yoga that you can really regulate your nervous system with. And I think as someone who's neurodivergent and overcome trauma myself, this has been the one that's helped me.
Really suit you.
Yeah.
So you found the one that suits you. As we've just been saying,
exactly.
It's trying different things and then finding what suits you.
And I've done a lot of yoga. Done a lot of yoga.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for speaking to me today. This is Deborah at ntsslearning.com. So, and thank you, Katrina. And
thank you so much, Deborah. It's really good to
been
share.
great. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.